You know, it's an anime trope. I've noticed this is mostly predominant in Hunter x Hunter. There was some of it in Full Metal Alchemist, and now we're seeing it here with Aaron. It's the whole thing of if I fail, then I'm just going to curl up in a ball and quit. You'll be filled with despair. You're so filled with despair because how dare you fail? Like, there's an arrogance to that. There's an arrogance to, I have to succeed at all times, or I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to curl up in a ball and cry. You know? Like, it's a trope. And also, character flaws is not bad writing. So, what I'm going to say here, I'm talking about the characterization. If this is a real person that did this, because I've seen people who do this, right? And so I'm talking about that. I'm not talking about the writing choice. Like, first of all, it's a trope. Just like, you're going to throw a cat on somebody in a horror movie. It's what you do. It's a horror movie. So there's that, right? So, like, I'm just talking about, like, when people are like this. And for me, like, I made some gambles. I used some of my own money that I should have held in savings for, like, when dad had, like, medical bills or something. I would have been able to withstand what happened. Instead, I lost everything. So that was my choice. I risked all this money to try to get a film or a TV show off the ground, and I failed every time. Like I made these choices at least 4 times to start my career. The very first movie I ever did, I did this. An investor pulled out funding at the last minute, so I put up $20,000 of my own, went $20,000 in debt because an investor pulled out 2 days before we were going to start shooting, and that was it. If I hadn't done that, maybe I would never even been in filmmaking because like that got me a lot of contacts that lasted me for years, and people respected the fact that like I didn't fuck them over because they had not done work, they had canceled jobs and made reservations and spent their own money on stuff for this film that we said was going to happen, and they were all disappointed and they would have all hated me, but the fact that I didn't let that happen, they respected me. So I don't know that I would have ever gotten off the ground as a filmmaker, but it set a bad precedent. So, but I made these choices, okay? And once the bill came due, literally and figuratively, I could just curl up in a ball and cried and quit. But instead, you push on. You try to forge a new career. You try to, make money in a different way. You try to still realize some version of your dream. This isn't filmmaking, but it's adjacent to filmmaking, so that it makes me happy still. I'm still doing something similar. I'm still entertaining people, which is what my goal. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. So you push on. You find a different way to attack the problem. You solve the problem. You work the problem. You don't lay down and fucking cry and talk about how you're a failure and you make everybody fight. Everything stops. The entire party has to stop and focus their attention on you, the attention whore, because you feel bad because you failed. And most of the time, this failure is not even their fault. It's like there was, it was 10-1 odds or some shit. It was 10 against 1 or something. And somehow they didn't persevere. It's ridiculous, man. And it's arrogant, it's self-centered, and you're trying to center all the attention on you. You're being an attention whore, in a way. And you're slowing everything down and maybe risking people's lives in some situations. Sometimes not, but, a lot of times, like, you're just, it seems like you're not working the problem. Any amount of time spent on convincing you're not a complete fucking failure is time that could have been working the problem. And just as a human being, I have a huge problem with that. Like I couldn't be around people like that. I couldn't have people like that on my team. You're being the load at that point. TV Tropes calls it the load. Like everybody now has to carry you because you feel bad because you failed against ridiculous odds. Like there's so many different ways it's ridiculous. Even if it wasn't bad odds, just say you fumbled the bag, right? Like it was just an unforced error. It would still be ridiculous. But in the situation we see, because it is anime and this is fiction, typically the audience is like, well, that's not even his fault. So what are we doing here? It's such a huge anime trope. And Aaron has this, and it's annoying. So I just want that out there. So the next time he fails, and he's curled up in a ball, and he's whining, and everybody else has to fucking circle around him and hold hands and fucking raise his spirits again, because how dare he fail? I'm just gonna look at the camera like this, and you'll know what I'm thinking. I won't slow down the story, and bitch about it at that point. I'm just gonna talk about that at the beginning of the season because it hasn't really happened lately. I think it was the end of last season. He had a despair moment, but that was like there was a lot of shit going on. So like that wasn't even really this, but it's just a trend I've noticed. It's something they do. It's very popular in anime. So but as a human being who deal with other human beings, I just can't. I can't stand people who throw tantrums. I can't stand people who are doing anything other than working the problem. Like I'm a facts on the ground guy. I've talked about that. What are the facts on the ground? How do we address the problem? Like anything that's not energy directed towards addressing the problem, you're wasting your time and everybody else's, and energy, and maybe you're actually working against the problem. So yeah.